Hi, hello, and welcome to the channel. I'm Lady Celine, and today we are getting back into Chaos Head Noah. In the last episode, we got spooked with a little bit of 4chan, Gore-chan. Um, yeah, as any teenager in the mid to late aughts, we came across something that probably is going to scar us for life. Luckily, we didn't see too much. It didn't actually show that much. It was very brief still. Um, but I can only imagine that that is a precursor to things to come. Let's get back in. I glared at the minimum necessary school schedule I'd created. I'd never gotten to see Bloodtoon in real time last night. Of course, I saw it when it was upped to YouTube, so it didn't matter. I'm guessing that means uploaded. But I still didn't feel any better. The last thing Shogun had said before he'd left. It was like he knew how scared I was of God's gaze. It couldn't possibly be a coincidence. I tried to think of how he might know. Had my personal info leaked? Or was this somebody from ESO who was out to get me? A godlike player like me had lots of friends, but also lots of enemies. Well, most of those enemies were just haters, though. You know, guys who were jealous of Neidhart's strength and charisma. I really maxed them out, you guys. It was best just to ignore them, I'd always found. No, that wasn't what was important right now. Even after I logged into ESO, I couldn't stop wondering who he was, to the point where I couldn't even concentrate on my grinding. And to make matters worse, today was
最悪の日だ。
the worst day possible. It was, unfortunately, a day where I had to go to school. I didn't want to, but if I didn't follow my schedule, it might come back to bite me later. I might even end up being held back.
眠いのに。
Oh, I'm so sleepy too. I did my best to stifle a yawn as I staggered down the road to the school. At my walking speed, it would take about 10 minutes to get there. Once I started moving, I only felt worse. I felt exhausted. It was weirdly hard to breathe, and there was an awful sweat dripping from every pore in my body. This always happened whenever I went to school. Why did I have to go to school at all, when all it meant was suffering? I mumbled to myself as I stared down at the white lines on the asphalt, but I kept going. My route took me through Shoto Park. Once I was through the park, the school was right there. As I walked by a lake, I could see an older couple out for a morning walk, and a salaryman sitting on a bench reading the sports section. For a park on the outskirts of a major downtown area like Shibuya, it was quiet. It was a perfect place to relax. I sat down on one of the benches. Every day I went to school, I would always sit here in the morning and eat my breakfast, surrounded by leaves that were gradually beginning to change color, and watch the placid surface of the lake. Breakfast was a pastry I bought at the local convenience store. This would keep me going until evening. I never ate lunch. Nobody wanted to eat with a creepy otaku like me, and I certainly wasn't going to eat alone when everyone else was in some kind of group. I washed down the cream-filled pastry with a can of soda and stared up at the sky. The sky above Shibuya was always kind of cloudy and never totally clear. This was true no matter what season it was. My family's home was just a few stops away from Shibuya by train, but something made it feel like a whole different world. Oddly enough, the gray sky didn't bother me. I didn't know why, but it didn't. Honestly, that sky didn't look all that gray to me. Gray skies make me really fucking depressed, and like looking at that is like, oh, it's a nice fall day. I looked at my watch to check the time. I needed to get going or I'd be late. Being late was the one thing I absolutely couldn't do. If I wanted to only go to school 2.5 times a week, then I needed to make sure I didn't stand out at all costs. I needed to be like the air we breathe, completely invisible. I needed to avoid the DQNs, the delinquents and thugs I hated more than anything, and teachers, and spend my day undisturbed, in peace and quiet. That was my goal for school life. Suime Academy. That was the name of the school I attended. It wasn't a very old school. It had been built within the last 10 years. This meant the building was clean and new, and it was often used as a set for TV shows with the school theme. The uniforms had been designed by some famous designer, and a lot of the dumber girls had chosen the school specifically to wear them. It was, in theory, a college prep school, but the school's test scores were slightly above average at best. The school rules were really strict, but they were constantly telling prospective students about how much they respected student autonomy and independence. It was pretty funny how they tried to trick you. Well, I guess the rules were really there in name only. Nobody enforced them. So maybe they weren't trying to trick you after all. After all, even somebody like me who only went to school 2.5 times a week could still graduate. By the time I arrived at the school gate, there were enough students around me that it was starting to get noisy. I don't like crowds, so I kept my head down as I walked through the gate. In my mind, I was repeating, "Please, nobody talk to me," over and over. I had a sister a year younger than me who was also a student here. She would commute from home. Any day I ran into her was a disaster. Fortunately, I didn't see her today and made it safely to my classroom. I slunk into my seat without letting my eyes meet anybody else's. For a moment, I thought that some of the girls who were chatting near me looked my way, but it was just for an instant. They quickly returned to their conversation without saying a word. I knew they were all thinking that I was a weird, creepy loser. But if you ask me, you 3D girls are way creepier than I am. If you find me creepy, just don't look at me. Just pretend I'm not here. Just do that, and I'll live my life without bothering any of you. If you DQNs decide to keep calling me creepy all the time instead, that's your problem, not mine. That's what I always say. I just can't understand it. Maybe you want attention from the people you call creepy? Is that it? No, dude, they're trying to make you feel shame. I stayed in my seat, staring down silently at the surface of my desk, trying not to move at all.
Yo, Taku.
Oh, Taku. Oh, someone knows our name, just talks to us? Out of nowhere, somebody slapped me lightly on the back. I jerked and then looked up, annoyed. Is today one of the days you come to school?
Misumi-kun.
Misumi. It was Daisuke Musumi. Nope. It was Daisuke Misumi, my classmate. He was standing there with a friendly smile on his face. He was handsome and, supposedly, girls really liked him. He was also a self-proclaimed playboy who, according to him, was always dating several girls at once. From my perspective, he was a man who'd completely given himself over to the DQN side. He wasn't somebody I wanted anything to do with, but... Man, you always look so gloomy. Up all night playing games? What, didn't get enough sleep? No. He was the one person in class who always tried to talk to me. He and I had nothing in common, either in terms of personality or hobbies, but for some reason he was always trying to talk to me. It'd been this way ever since we became classmates at the start of the year, and I'd never managed to figure it out. If I was a girl, I could understand it, but why would he want to talk to a guy? I mean, I know you're a hikikomori, but you never leave your house. Oh, I see, that's what they call shut-in, okay. I mean, I know you're a hikikomori and you never leave your house, but try to speak up when you're answering somebody's question. If I could, I would. Just talking to a 3D person was suffering. I got so nervous my voice wouldn't even come out right, and since I wasn't used to talking, I would always stammer. I'd get so scared of saying something stupid and being made fun of that I hated talking to anybody. You don't understand my pain. Don't tell me what to do. Oh, and I'm not a hikikomori either. A hikikomori is somebody who never leaves their room 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's not who I am. I at least go to the convenience store twice a day. Come on. I can understand you getting nervous around a girl, but if you keep acting like that when I talk to you, people are going to think we're both gay. Oh yeah, is it God's gaze? Are we the real God's gaze? Was he lying about dating those girls and he was actually into men? I pulled my body away from him, trying to put some distance between us. In doing so, I almost fell out of my chair, so I quickly grabbed onto my desk. What the hell are you doing, man? Misumi, are you gay? Huh? Dude, of course not. Did you forget about all those girls I'm dating? Right. You scared me for a sec. And what's more, Misumi looked around to see who was nearby before suddenly lowering his voice. He gave me a mischievous grin. Ooh! I slept with my third girl from this class yesterday. You want details? No, not really. Ah, come on. Act interested. It was a Tanaka. Who's Tanaka? It's almost October and you don't even know the names of your classmates yet? Well, I guess if you're not into 3D women, that makes sense. He sighed and shrugged his shoulders. The one thing I could say for him was this. He'd never insulted my hobby, that is, my love of 2D characters. He never called me creepy. It wasn't his thing, but he never said anything about it. In that respect, maybe he wasn't such a bad guy after all. Maybe that was why when he talked to me, I actually tried to talk back. That takes care of almost all the cute girls in this class. I'm thinking of moving on to the girls in the next class over. Maybe he was a bad guy after all. At least that's what the girls would think if they heard him. There's this really cute girl in Class D who almost never comes to school. It's kinda hot, don't you think? Oh, I guess you would say it's moe, not hot, right? Don't use that word when you don't even know what it means. Anyway, I know you don't care about this stuff, so I'll stop talking about it. So, heard about New Gen? To be honest, I was really surprised to hear that from him. I thought he was only interested in chasing skirts. I couldn't imagine him looking at a newspaper or reading the news. That group dive? They said it was actually a murder. Uh-huh. I mean it. It was in Sports Tokyo. Wait, Sports Tokyo was in his source? Who could believe a thing written in that paper? And anyway, I already knew that. And also, I didn't care. And get this. The killer was a girl. And a hot one, too, according to the witnesses. A girl? As I looked at the excitement on Misumi's face, I finally understood it. So that's what compelled him to actually pick up a newspaper. It was a girl. It only made sense, I thought to myself. Wait, did that mean he was okay with dating a murderer as long as they were cute? I could see myself going for that if it was a 2D girl, but Misumi was looking out at the window and off into the distant sky. He looked like he was on the cusp of achieving some great enlightenment.
どんなやつなんだろうな、犯人って。
I wonder what the killer's
本当に
like.
美人なのかな。会ってみて。
Is she really hot, you think? I'd love to meet her. This was a man who made all his decisions with his little head. I was sure of this now.
俺だけは殺されねえ自信があんだよな。だってほら。
She might kill other people, but she wouldn't kill me. I'm sure of that. I mean, just look at how cool I am, right? Even a serial killer would fall in love with me. And then she wouldn't kill him, he thought. Man, talk about an optimist. I feel like maybe she's more likely to kill you if she loves you. She might get a little too overbearing or something. I found myself feeling scared by how confident he looked.
僕は興味ないから。
I don't really care.
でもよ、興味ないっつったって。
Sure, maybe not. But you know, she's probably around this town somewhere, right? You might pass her by any minute. Ooh, spooky. Maybe Misumi was the killer. No, that was probably impossible, but I couldn't rule out the possibility that the killer was somebody from this school. I definitely don't think that he's the killer, but I am wondering if he might be Shogun. Obviously, this is the first character we've been introduced to, so that's, like, probably out there, but who knows? It might be even more out there for it to be, like, our closest person. It's the one that's doing all this shit. Or is, like, tormenting us with it, rather. If that turned out to be the case, maybe I could come up with something about how I'd gotten PTSD and be able to graduate without having to go to school. Hey, want to go see the crime scene with me? It's within walking distance of the school. They say you can still see the blood. I didn't feel interested in the slightest. My goal for today was to get through my classes without any trouble, go home to Seiratan, and then go back inside the world where I was God. Kobashi and Hasegawa said they already went too. I mean it. I don't care. Oh, we get a choice? Maybe? I'm seeing a red and a green. I hated to disappoint Misumi when he was so excited, but I had no intention of going. I opened my mouth to squeak out some excuse, but he wasn't listening. Maybe I'll run into her when we get there. You know, they say the criminal returns to the scene of the crime and stuff. I guess you'd be her next target then. Atone for your sins with death. Like that. Your sins can be, I don't know, being a hikikomori, I guess. I'm not a hikikomori. I tried to protest. But I worried that he might hate me or try to bully me and just gulped down my words. I bit my lip and looked away from him. I found myself looking around the room and saw something written on the blackboard. At first, I didn't really care what it was. All I noticed was that there was some writing there. But the more I looked, the more something seemed wrong. Huh? Finally, I leaned out of my chair. Move out of the way! Ow! What's gotten into you? Whose eyes are those eyes? Oh! I pushed past Misumi and walked up to the blackboard. When I saw the words written there, I felt like my heart was strangling itself in my chest. Whose eyes are those? The words I always silently said to myself whenever I felt the gaze of God. I'd never told them to anyone else. There was no one to tell them to. Not even Misumi. Nobody in this class could possibly know that I said that phrase all the time. Why? Who? For what reason? I spun around and looked at the classroom. Only Misumi was paying any attention to me. Everyone else was talking to themselves, or reading manga they weren't supposed to have at school, or sleeping at their desks. Who, though? Who wrote this? And when did they do it? Was that already on the blackboard when I'd come in? I couldn't remember. Usually, I didn't pay any attention to what was on the blackboard.
なあ、どうしたんだ?
Hello, what's gotten into you, man? Misumi walked up to me and grabbed me by the shoulders to shake me.
聞いてる?
Are you listening?
おーい。
Yo, Taku! It didn't matter who'd written them. It was just a coincidence. People use these words all the time. It was just some stupid scribbling. Yeah, just some stupid scribbling. I tried to tell myself that, but I was still really scared. I never did figure out who'd written them. I wanted to go around the class and ask, but I didn't have the courage. Before long, homeroom began. The teacher came in and asked, "Who wrote on this blackboard?" He sounded annoyed and erased them. Okay, so words were definitely there. I'm thinking that Takumi might have hallucinated that they said, "Whose eyes are those?" I don't know. I also wasn't able to do anything with that, like, red, green choice. I didn't try to do anything. I just kept, like, going through the dialogue, and that's what it did. It was really creepy, but I decided I was going to force myself to behave normally. If I let myself seem scared, I'd just be admitting the message had something to do with me. And it didn't, okay? It was just a coincidence. I kept telling myself that over and over until it was time for me to go to a net cafe after school, just like I'd planned to do. The cafe's name was At Cafe. It was the one place I liked going. It was along Center Street in Shibuya. There were a lot of loser salarymen and DQN 3D girls here, but you got your own personal room, so it didn't matter. The room I was in, room 37, was kind of my personal spot. It was the one furthest back in the cafe. It sucked when you wanted to go get some free soda, but it was relatively quiet because not many people came by. I would always come here once or twice a week on my way home from school so that I could log into ESO under a different ID. It was my way of relaxing. Nighthare was too well known, you see. I enjoyed being famous, but having to be the hero everyone looked up to all the time was stressful. That's why I like to play with a different avatar sometimes. This character was a girl. Her name was Liselotte. Liselotte? Didn't really have many big accomplishments to her name. Whenever I played as her, I made sure other characters got the glory. I worked out some stress by playing for 3 hours, just grinding, never really doing any hard content. Then I talked about dumb stuff and some naughty stuff with the rest of my guild. By the last time I left the cafe, it was almost 9 p.m. Center Street at this hour was filled with DQNs. They would sit on the sidewalk like they owned the place, eating fast food and laughing in their disgusting voices. It made me want to vomit. And if you made eye contact with them, they'd get mad and attack you. They were barbarians. No, they weren't even human. They were worse than that. They were animals. They didn't have a shred of common social decency or intelligence. I wish they would all just die. I meant it, too. It wasn't something I was just saying. But, just dealing with them is a waste of time. And I wasn't the kind of guy to waste time. Like, I could have kicked them all in the ass, guys. I just didn't for their sake. And I quickly left Center Street. After leaving At Cafe, I would always stop at either the nearby Mangadarake or the Animate that was a little further away. today I decided to go to Animate and headed for the station's south entrance. There were far fewer DQNs here. Really, Center Street was pure chaos. It was Chaos Head Noah. Just walking through there, it made it hard to breathe. If I could have, I would have rather never gone there at all. I wish they'd just tear the whole place down, leaving only a cafe and manga darake. Anyway, it was time to look at some manga and doujinshi. Oh, and Bloodtoon's 5th DVD was probably about to go out for pre-order. At some point, I found myself on a narrow street in Maruyamacho. This was the route I used on my way back to the base from Animate. I forced myself to blink several times. Then I took a look inside my bag. There were a few textbooks along with a portable game system. We still have a PSP. We still have a PSP, and we still use it in this year of our Lord and Savior 2025. I hadn't bought anything at Animate today. Usually I always made sure to buy at least one thing. I sighed and started to walk. From here, it was less than 15 minutes to the base. You didn't have to get that far from the station for all the lights and neon to disappear, along with most of the people. At most, you saw middle-aged couples heading for hotels, or salarymen heading to their homes nearby. It was quiet and calm. It was hard to believe that this was the same Shibuya as Center Street, with its hordes of DQNs. It was cloudy tonight, and the moon was hidden. The street seemed even darker than usual. Again. I knew the route well, with its filthy, dark street. But today it felt strange, like I'd wandered into another world. Everything looked the same as always, but it felt like I was coming here for the first time. And there was this odd smell, like rotting garbage. I could feel the humidity clinging to my skin. If I hadn't known better, I would have assumed it had just rained. The air felt sticky. No, hang on. What did I mean again? I'd felt a sense of déjà vu before. When was that? Damn it. I was getting reality and my delusions mixed up. That was what the psychologists on TV said would happen if you played too many video games. Either way, it felt like I was coming here for the first time. And that wasn't all. I felt a prickling on the back of my neck, a feeling like somebody was looking down at me. I wasn't imagining it. No matter how fast I tried to walk, the gaze kept following me. Somebody was watching me right now. Their gaze was so powerful, I could physically feel it. I wanted to look back, but I decided not to. This was a game I sometimes played with myself. Whenever I heard a small sound or felt like somebody was watching me, I'd play the "I'm not turning around that easy" game. If I turned around, I lost. Usually, whenever I felt the gaze, I had delusions about ghosts or monsters with incredibly scary faces. Yet, throughout all 17 years of my life, I'd never turned around and actually seen something there. I'd kind of started to enjoy this game since I knew I was probably safe. I'd listen for a moment, then raise an eyebrow in suspicion, and then I'd say a line from a manga. It wasn't that I was too scared to turn around, okay? Hey, you want a piece of me? Whose eyes are those? Just kidding. I tried to desperately remind myself that I wasn't scared, but the next thing I knew, I'd stopped walking. I could feel the tension in the air change slightly. My face was damp with sweat, and my knees were threatening to buckle. I gave in and turned around. I lost the game, but of course, there was nobody there, not even a passing car. Why did everything feel so strange all of a sudden? Oh. The ringing in my ears had stopped. I only noticed after the sound stopped. Until that moment, there'd been a sound like a ringing in my ears. I actually did hear it, but only like in the last couple seconds there is when I realized it. But I hadn't been aware of it at all. Now I couldn't hear anything. It was suddenly dead silent, far too silent for the middle of a city. It felt like any sound would be crystal clear. I closed my eyes tight to listen. I couldn't hear anything. This was weird. This was weird, right? Usually you could hear the sounds of distant trains, car horns, faint noises like that. So why? Were my ears broken? I wanted to scream as loud as I could. I felt like if I didn't, I'd go crazy. But I couldn't. It was so quiet, and it felt like if I broke the silence, something terrible might happen. Uh? Suddenly, a single sound shattered the silent world. Dink, dink, dink. I looked ahead and saw many shiny things lying out in the dark ground. They were scattered all over the asphalt.
十字架?
Crosses? The moment I realized what they were, my legs unfroze and began to move forward. I picked one of them up. It was metal, and its long tip was sharp like a needle. A stake? A nail? It was strangely shaped, so I'd mistaken it for a cross. I gripped the stake, dazed. I could hear it. A faint sound of some kind, echoing. A cold sound, one that would make your blood turn to ice. It would start, then stop, then start again. My legs kept moving forward. I walked on as if drawn to the source of the sound. Was it just a desire to see something scary? Maybe I wanted somebody to save me? To rescue me by plucking me out of this world of silence? It was like something from an old German fairy tale. Which one was it again? Oh right, the Pied Piper of Hamelin, where the piper leads over 100 children on a march with the sound of his flute. The sound kept going. It was an awful sound, like something hitting something else. As I walked on, it kept getting closer. It was coming from the back of the narrow alley on the left. Once I rounded the corner, I'd see what it was. For some reason, I didn't even think to turn around. The very idea of turning around never occurred to me. It was like I wasn't in control of my own body. I walked around the corner and saw. In the darkness, brilliant red. Whoa. Okay, man. It is a man, and he is being nailed to a wall in like T-pose. The first thing I thought was that I'd seen something like it before. Also, that it didn't look real at all. Maybe a few screws broke loose in my mind, and my senses had just become numb. In normal conditions, I would have screamed, fallen back on my butt, and peed myself right then and there. It was something that looked like a porcupine, or maybe a pincushion. Countless stakes were nailed into the wall. As I stared at it, I realized that red blood was pouring out from beneath the stakes. The brilliant red I'd seen was a pool of blood. Faint light from the street lamps outside the alley just barely reached in, making the red glisten. There were also all these little glistening piles of something. They looked like hunks of meat. I tried to swallow, but my throat was parched dry. There wasn't a single drop of saliva in my mouth. I'd realized the thing nailed to the wall by those stakes was a man. was a human corpse. This was so far removed from my everyday life, so brutal and so overwhelming. And the one who had done it, the one who'd pounded all these stakes into raw concrete, was this single young girl. How could I tell? Because she was standing right there in front of the corpse, holding stakes in her blood-stained hand. Her back was turned, so I couldn't tell what the look on her face was. But the uniform she was wearing, it was Suimei's. The awful smell, like raw, rotting garbage, clung to my nostrils even more firmly. Every few seconds, I felt like I was about to throw up. I put my hand over my mouth so that I wouldn't vomit. And then I finally realized where the sense of deja vu I'd been having came from. Yeah, this is that image that we accidentally opened up. The pictures in Shogun's links. I didn't realize I'd spoken aloud until it was too late. This would prove to be a fatal mistake. Oh, she heard us. I saw the girl's shoulders twitch as my voice broke. Then she slowly turned around. Hi, girlie. We're nobody. We didn't see anything. Her gaze pierced me. Her eyes were so flat and empty. She had killed him. Oh. She looked at me with startled, wide eyes. Her expression then shifted to something that combined a smile with tears. And then... I'm so glad, she whispered. Glad? Glad about what? Why would anybody be glad about anything right now? It didn't make sense. It was so bizarre, I felt a cold chill run down my spine and quickly looked away. It suddenly occurred to me that I didn't want to get involved in anything weird. I couldn't talk to real girls anyway. Also, she was a murderer. The cops were on their way. I was hungry, too. Yeah, it's time to go home. Time to leave. Otherwise, I'd honestly go crazy. Taku. Oh, did she say that? Suddenly, she said my name. I hadn't introduced myself. I'd never even seen her before. I wanted to meet you. Her lips curled upward into a terrible grin, like a demon's. I screamed, and as I screamed, I ran. I kept yelling until my throat hurt, running as fast as I could. Just once I looked back, but she wasn't following me. Did we black out? I was out of breath. I could hear the sound of my own panting. I was sitting in front of my computer monitor. My whole body was soaked with sweat, and my clothes were, too. What did I just see? Was that a delusion of mine? I still felt like I was about to throw up, so I went to the fridge, got a soda, and gulped it down. It was a really realistic delusion, if I did say so myself, but way too gory. I was even still out of breath. If it was just a delusion, how could I be out of breath? That was impossible. I mean, he did run, like, regardless of whether what he saw was real or not. He just ran all the way home, so that makes sense that he'd be out of breath. I felt something strange in my right hand. Ooh. I was holding it so tightly that my fingers had turned white. Until that moment, I hadn't even realized it. My heart pounding, I slowly relaxed my grip and opened my palm. Is it the cross? Yeah. It was a single stake. Ooh, we brought it home with us. I don't like that. This is creepy. Scared, I flung it at the wall. It was the stake from the delusion. I remembered picking up one of the ones lying on the ground. But why? Wasn't that a delusion? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's impossible, impossible, impossible. I began to wander around the room, clutching my head in my hands. I needed to figure out if what I'd just seen was a delusion or reality. But before I could, I slipped on one of the CD cases on the floor and lost my balance. I reached out, trying to grab something so I wouldn't fall. Oh, the only thing in reach was the shelf where all my wives resided. By the time I realized what had happened, it was too late. I couldn't hold my weight, and I ended up falling back onto the floor as figure after figure poured down on me. Damn it. This was just awful. Everything was just awful. Really? I would think you would love to have all of your wives piling on you. That's hot, right? I moaned, then started to see if my figures were okay. Oh! The sword for my Ignis Tan from Jingai Makyo. It had broken clean in two. I'd bought that thing in an online auction and had to pay a whole bunch for it. Damn it all. I tried to put the sword back together, but even gluing it together wouldn't really fix it. It was worthless now. Come on, this is bullshit. I kicked my chair in anger. Then I started to cry. Why did this have to happen to me? What did I do? I sat down and glumly stared at my now swordless Ignis. Yeah, we're gonna be dealing with a little PTSD from all that. When the anger and confusion passed, I turned my mind toward the girl's face and the strange sight I'd seen. The fact that I was holding the stake meant that the murder was real, not a delusion. I didn't want to admit that, but I had no choice. By tomorrow, the media would be in an uproar. I wanted nothing to do with it, nothing at all. If I got involved with her, no, it wasn't a her. It was some kind of monster. I'd be done for. I was already pretty close to screwed anyway. I'd taken a murder weapon home with me. The police might even think I was the killer. And that demon saw my face. There was no escaping this now. Next, she'd come after me. I needed to think. For my own sake, I needed to think so I could get out of this alive. I'm sure of it. Shogun is the mystery girl. The mystery girl is the killer/demon. Those photos were a message predicting the murder. There was no other explanation for how it happened, just like in the photos. First, the girl put together fake photos on the computer, simulating exactly how the murder would happen. That was her way of making the murder. No, I bet she'd want me to call it a work of art instead of a murder. Psychopaths like her always thought that way. That was her way of making sure it was perfect. She's crazy. But why me? How did she know that I was Nightheart anyway? How did she find out my name? What was I supposed to do? She'd be coming for me before long. She knew my name and my email, so she probably knew my address too. I pulled my legs up onto the chair and crossed my hands over my knees, then buried my head between them. The murder I'd seen yesterday was sheer madness. Just the thought of it happening to me. I don't want to die, 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 I don't want to die. It's okay. Huh? Seira was lying in front of my PC monitor, staring at me. Taki, all you have to do is stay here in your room. Then the demon won't be able to get you, right? If you wait long enough, the cops will catch her. Until that happens, don't believe anybody. Don't listen to anything anyone says. You know, demons like to take advantage of the weaknesses in people's hearts. So no letting your guard down, mister. You can do that, right, Taki? But Sera, you know, the best way to win sometimes is to run away. Just forget all about the 3D world. Think of it as having nothing to do with you at all. Then it's much easier, right? And if it has nothing to do with you, then there's no point in thinking about it at all. Let me give you some advice. Hikikomori are the strongest people in the world. They don't have to interact with anyone, which means nobody can attack them. Being a hikikomori is the strongest way to protect yourself. So, Taki, you should be a hikikomori. It's easy, right? Maybe you're right. That's why she was my wife after all. She was really smart. I leaned forward and gently grasped Sera-tan's thin waist. Even when my face got close to hers, Sera-tan didn't seem upset at all. She just kept smiling. Thank you, Sera. I feel a lot better now. That's right. The 3D world can eat shit. That demon probably doesn't even care about a creepy otaku like me. I'm safe. All I have to do is just watch my favorite anime and play ESO all day, and I'll be just fine. But don't forget what I said. No letting your guard down. Yeah, I know. Don't believe in anybody. Don't listen to anything anyone says. Beware of anything 3D. That was all I had to do, and I'd be safe. I'm a lucky man to have Sera care about me so much. Now then, time for some ESO grinding. God, please let me save. I'm so tired. Fly and cross, the promise is now. Fly and cross, about to be fulfilled. Fly and cross, and the end. Fly and cross is now unleashed. A clear voice echoed across Miyashita Park in the depths of the night. Oh? On top of the pedestrian bridge over Meiji Street, as the cars came and went below, the girl they called Fez leaned up against the bridge's safety rail, seemingly oblivious to the noise below. Followers guided by the light of the moon. She had no audience. If she'd done a real street performance, she probably would have had at least 100 people stopping to listen. But for now, Fess had instead chosen to hide herself behind the veil of night. A path of illusions that leads to this place. All she had to do was stand here in the silence. Then she could be one with the darkness, and for a moment, at least, freed from the filthy air of Shibuya. That's how it seemed to her, anyway. The shouts soon turned to silence. Suddenly, she looked up at the night sky. The clouds that had covered it were slowly parting, and a faint ray of moonlight trickled through. But the bright, dazzling lights of Shibuya were hiding the hesitant twinkling of the stars. Feeling peace as you fall, two hands clasping in the wind. Fess closed her mouth and reached up toward the sky. Whose eyes are those? Ooh. It's all coming back around. All right, I think that's probably a good place to stop for tonight. All right, so it did indeed get worse. We stumbled across not only a dead body, but a crime scene. Yeah, and we got an introduction to a new character, this Fez girl. I have no idea what to expect next. As always, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you didn't, keep it to yourself. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Go ahead and subscribe. You can do the subscribe thing. Hit the button that starts with an S. And I'll see you there. Thanks and bye!